Om Swastiastu. Om Swastiastu. Salam Harmoni. Good morning, everyone, wherever you are. In this special occasions, I would like to present my research proposal, especially in the part of research background and also the literature review. So the topic or the title of this research proposal is the use of peer assessment in improving student speaking skills during the online learning period based on the Zoom meeting platform for 12th grades at SMA Negeri 4 Singaraja. But first of all, before I present the research background as well as the literature review, allow me to introduce myself first. My name is Wayan Gede Suastawan. You can call me Adi. I'm a student of fourth semester in English language education study program. So in this special occasions, I would like to say a big thanks to my lecturer in research methodology on English language teaching, especially in the quantitative part, Mr. Hery Santosa, S.Pd, M.Pd, Ph.D. Well, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, let's start the discussions with the research background of this research proposal. So in this part of research background, we would like to discuss some part. The first one is the background and the limitation of the research, and then the research question. The third one is research purposes, and the last one is research significances. All right, without any further ado, let's start with the research background of the research proposal. So, ladies and gentlemen, the emergence of the COVID-19 pandemic has successfully killed 3.72 million people in the 21st century. It is undeniable that this pandemic has succeeded in hacking all orders of human life without the exception of the education sector. This is inevitably forced the Minister of Education and Culture to take strategic steps through the Surat Edaran Kemendikbud Nomor 4 Tahun 2020 regarding education management in the COVID-19 emergency period by prioritizing strict health protocol. So the transformations of conventional learning modes into learning is a challenge. So I'm sorry, the transformation of conventional learning modes into online learning model is a challenge for both teachers or educators and learners in order to achieve learning objective comprehensively. This also applies in the forms of learning English, especially at a high school level. In the learning English, there are 4 language skills that must be mastered by every student. One of that is currently the focus of attention in speaking is a speaking skill. So literally, according to Cameron 2001, speaking skills are an activity that use language media to express certain meanings and ideas so that they can be understood easily by the speech partner. Furthermore, the speaking skills are a mandatory requirement that must be mastered by every learner in order to be able to compete in the era of society 5.0. However, the reality on the ground shows the opposite fact, where the student speaking skill, especially at a high school, are still far from expectation. This is triggered by a number of factors such as the lack of vocabulary mastery, decrease of self-confidence, loss of learning motivation, and the lack of mastery of English grammar. What is good and right? Especially at this time, most teachers still apply a teacher-centered assessment pattern so that it seems subjective without involving the student's point of view. So reflecting on this, of course, an authentic assessment method is needed so that the impression of subjectivity can be minimized. Through an authentic assessment, we can obtain important information in learning as well as know how to effectively evaluate students' understanding. So one of the authentic assessment models that have become the focus of current research is peer assessment. Basically, Peer assessment is an assessment method that involves students' contribution in assessing their peers as a form of cooperation in learning activity. So this assessment model aims to increase student contribution, train a sense of responsibility, and provide clear benchmark for students' level of understanding. But again, ladies and gentlemen, during this online learning period, some English language teacher at the high school level still rarely realize this model due to the lack of understanding of the concept and the difficulty of setting a teaching schedule. So reflecting on this background, we have to know the limitation of the research. So in this case, I would like to limit my research. It is focused on identifying and analyzing the use of peer assessment in order to improve student speaking skill during online learning through the Zoom meeting platform for grade 12 at the SMA Negeri 4 Singaraja. And for the research question, I have already formulated two research questions. The first one is, how do SMA Negeri 4 Singaraja students in 12th grade perceive peer assessment in speaking class through Zoom meeting platform? And the second question is there any relationship between peer assessment towards student speaking skill in SMA Negeri 4 Singaraja through Zoom meeting platforms? So reflect from the research questions, there are two research proposals that will be achieved. The first one is to find out how 12th grade students at SMA Negeri 4 Singaraja perceive peer assessment in the speaking class through the Zoom meeting platform. And the second one is to find out any relationship between peer assessment towards student speaking skill in SMA Negeri 4 Singaraja through Zoom meeting platform. Well, after we already know the research question and also the research proposals of this research proposal, now we have to understand the research significances of this proposal. The first one is theoretical significance. It is expected to be able to add empirical reference, and then for the students, it is expected to be able to provide insight for students about the use of peer assessment, and for the lecturer, it is expected to be able to provide additional insight and references regarding to the use of peer assessment. And the last one is for the other researchers. It is expected to be a reference in conducting a similar research. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we are move on to the second part of this presentation that will be discuss a literature review. So in this part, I'm already divide the literature review presentation into three parts. The first one is speaking aspect, the second one is assessment aspect, and the third one is Zoom meeting aspect as a learning platform for assessing speaking skill of the students at the high school level. All right, without any further ado, let's start the presentation to discuss the speaking aspect. So as you can see on the slide, according to Cameron, speaking is a process of implementing language in expressing a meaning so that it can be understood by others. While on the other hand, the speaking skills are used to create listener by using media in the form of words so that they can produce a meaning. So based on those views, we can conclude that speaking is a mechanism used to convey idea, message, and information using linguistic symbols by speakers to speech partner comprehensively. In general, there are 5 types of speaking skill. The first one is imitative. At this imitating level, the students will only try to repeat what a teacher or parent has said to them in an understandable way and with some adherence to pronunciations as defined by a teacher. And then the second one is intensive. In this phase, the speaking activity will involve a relatively limited and very controlled number of language production processes. And for the responsive, the responsive pace is much more complex than the previous pace. At this stage, the dialogue process already contains a simple questions with 2 or 3 follow-up questions. And then the fourth one is interactive. The challenge of interpersonal speaking is the context or pragmatics. The speaker must remember the use of slang, humor, ellipsis, and etc. When trying to communicate, it is much more complex than saying yes or no or giving directions to the bathroom in a second language. And the last one is extensive. It is one thing to survive in a conversation with someone in second language. We can rely on each other body language to address communication challenges. And when we talk about the functions of speaking, there are some functions. The first one is speaking for interaction, speaking for performance, and the last one speaking for transaction. And ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about language skill, of course, we must know what elements need to be considered in this skill. In speaking skill, there are four elements that deserve attention. The first one is pronunciation. Pronunciation is a language element that has meaning as a procedure for a word to be pronounced properly and correctly. And then vocabulary. So if a person doesn't have an adequate vocabulary, then he will not be able to express something but both in orally and writing. Therefore, in a speaking class, a language teacher must be able to design innovative learning pattern so that the students can have an adequate vocabulary. And then the third one is grammar. The grammatical component concerned about how to structure a sentence properly and correctly. This definition is in line with the idea of Hinton 1998, which is reveals that grammar is the ability possessed by students to manipulate structure and distinguish appropriate grammatical forms. And the last but not least is fluency. Fluency can be defined as the ability to speak fluently and effectively. When someone is fluent in using a language, then the communication process will be able to run more smoothly and directed. So ladies and gentlemen, that's all about the speaking aspect. Now we move on to the next discussion that will discuss the assessment aspect. So in teaching learning activity, the existence of an assessment is a vital component that deserves serious attention from educators. Assessment is a mechanism to obtain information about student achievement in the learning process. So ladies and gentlemen, broadly speaking, the assessment is divided into two types. The first one is summative assessment, and the second one is formative assessment. The differences between these types of assessment lies in the procedure for assessing the appearance and work that has been done by students in learning. As previously mentioned, peer assessment is an assessment model that is classified as a formative assessment. In using peer assessment in learning activity, the students must be understood, have good understanding about a peer assessment technique. Therefore, the teacher have a vital role in providing clear and easy to understand instruction. So talking about peer assessment, there are advantages of peer assessment. It is train students' ability to work together and collaborate, make the learning atmosphere more lively and meaningful. And what about the objectivity? So peer assessment were objective in speaking class, especially on oral presentation. It is according to CAPE 2008, page 56. And about peer assessment in speaking class, they use a more specific type of speaking skill, namely skill in making presentation, especially in virtual places through the Zoom meeting platform. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all about the discussion about assessment aspect. Now we are going to discuss about the Zoom meeting aspect as a learning platform to assessing student speaking skill. So in this case, we would like to discuss the definition, how to use it, and then the advantages of Zoom meeting platform. All right. So as you can see on the slide, as we already know from a historical point of view, Zoom meeting is a virtual meeting application that created by a billionaire Eric Yuan in April 2011. Further, apart from the application form, Zoom can also be accessed through the website both for Mac, iOS, Windows, Linux, and iOS, and Android as well. So Zoom meeting platform is widely used by various groups at this time learning period. So in this learning period, especially in online learning period, it is widely used both of educators and also as students. So after we already know what is Zoom meeting, now we have to know how to use Zoom meeting both in personal computer or laptop or by mobile phone or our smartphone. The first one I would like to discuss how to use it platform in the personal computer. So there are some steps that we have to follow. The first one is go to the internet site and type the addresses and then create an account using email or Facebook account. And after the registration process is complete, go to the main page, then click my profile, and then there will be a personal ID meeting data that can be used for invite other participants to video conference. And then copy the meeting ID that has been created and send it to participant we will invite to the video conference, or we can also copy paste the link in the browser. So in this case, the participant is not required to have an account in order to join the video conference. They just need to copy the meeting ID or link on the browser to join the conference. After clicking the link, the participant automatically join the video conference and can have an online meeting. And what about use Zoom meeting via Android or via smartphone? It is similar in the personal computer. We have to take our mobile device and then download the Zoom app on the Play Store or App Store, and then create an account using email or Facebook account, and then go to the setting page and look for the personal meeting ID that can be used to invite the other participant to the video conference. And then copy the meeting ID that has been created and send it into the participant who will be invited to the video conference, or we can also copy paste the link in the browser. So just like on a personal computer or laptop, if we are invited as a participant for the video conference, then we are not required to have an account. Just click on the link or meeting ID, and then our account will automatically be connected to video conferencing. So after we already know how to use Zoom meeting platform both on personal computer and also smartphone, now we have to know the advantages of Zoom meeting platform. The first one is Zoom meeting have high definition quality video. It is completed by safe mode feature. Easy to invite other participant because only click the link or insert the meeting ID, and then support all platforms. It is completed also by cloud services. And last but not least, via Zoom meeting platform, it is easy to share everything and save quarantine. Well, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, that's all about my presentations about my research proposal, especially in research background and literature review. Before I close my presentation, I would like to share the quotes from my role model, C.S. Maudi Ayunda. So the quote is, I'm reminded once again that dreams, when broken down into concrete goals, it will become a seasonable planks, and that hard work and commitment to a vision will reap a result. So from this quote, we can learn that as a prospective teacher, as a young generation, as a student of a college, we have to learn a lot. We have to hard work every single day in order to achieve our big dream. But sure, with a hard work and great effort, all of our big dream will be achieved properly. So ladies and gentlemen, that's all I can share to you. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you so much for coming to this plenary session. I do apologize if there are some mistakes because nobody is perfect. See you in another presentation. Stay healthy, stay safe, and hopefully all of you can get a great success for your future. Thank you so much once again. See you in the next presentation, and have a good day, everyone. Goodbye.